The Panama Canal, a growing challenge for global shipping. The Panama Canal is currently facing a critical challenge. Cargo ships carrying essential goods are experiencing significant delays. While these disruptions might not seem alarming at first, prolonged bottlenecks could lead to serious consequences if left unresolved. But what exactly is causing this traffic jam on one of the world's busiest shipping lanes? Shipowners and captains carefully plan voyages, always aiming for the fastest and most fuel-efficient routes to maximize profits and move more cargo. Geographically, key shipping routes include strategic choke points, and the Panama Canal is one of the most important. Despite being a marvel of engineering, the canal is struggling to meet the demands of modern global trade. What used to be a smooth passage with minimal waiting now sees long queues of vessels. Recently, the line of ships waiting to transit the canal exceeded 200. Thanks to increased rainfall and round-the-clock efforts by the Panama Canal Authority, the number of waiting vessels has dropped to around 135 per day at the time of this video. However, these delays have still caused the average wait time to increase from under 2 days to a peak of nearly 10 days. It now stands at approximately 4 days. But why are ships forced to wait at all? To understand the delays, let's take a closer look at how the canal operates. Once a ship receives clearance, it enters the first set of locks. Inside the lock chamber, water from Lake Gatun, supplied by gravity, raises the vessel to the level of the next lock. Since the narrow locks leave little room for ships to maneuver under their own power, electric locomotives known as mules guide them through the locks, keeping them centered and moving smoothly along the way. This process is repeated 3 times, lifting the ship a total of 85 feet, 26 meters, above sea level. After clearing the final lock, vessels heading toward the Atlantic cross Lake Gatun and navigate the narrow Culebra Cut. Once they reach the other side, another lock system lowers them into Miraflores Lake. 2 additional locks then step the ships down to sea level, where they can continue their journey into the Pacific. For ships traveling in the opposite direction, the process is reversed. The canal's 2 parallel lock systems allow ships to travel in both directions simultaneously, but even with this setup, rising trade volumes have strained its capacity, leading to the current backlog. Without timely interventions, these delays could continue to impact the global supply chain. Navigating the Panama Canal, challenges and changes. Not all ships can traverse the Panama Canal due to size restrictions. Guiding large metal vessels through narrow concrete chambers is inherently risky, so the canal enforces maximum size limits known as Panamax. These vessels can be up to 965 feet long, 106 feet wide, with a draft, how deep the ship sits, of 40 feet, and an air draft, height, of 190 feet, limited by bridges along the route. Although once considered massive, Panamax ships became outdated by the early 21st century. As global trade expanded, rising fuel costs and the push to reduce shipping's carbon footprint spurred the development of even larger ships. By the 2000s, the Panama Canal could only accommodate around 65% of the global merchant fleet, as many vessels exceeded Panamax dimensions. To maintain the canal's relevance, Panama held a national referendum, and voters approved a multi-billion-dollar expansion. The result was the Neo-Panamax, allowing larger ships, up to 1,210 feet in length, 160 feet in beam, 50 feet in draft, and 190 feet in air draft, to navigate the canal. Despite the expanded capacity, the canal faces serious challenges, particularly concerning water availability. While it sits between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, the canal relies on freshwater from nearby lakes. Each transit consumes around 55 million gallons of water, totaling 2 billion gallons per day. However, only about 60% of this water can be recycled, with the rest lost to the sea. The canal's operations depend heavily on stable water levels in Lake Gatun and other sources, but climate change is disrupting this balance. Prolonged droughts, exacerbated by events like El Niño, have led the Canal Authority to lower the safety draft for vessels by 6 feet. Although this reduction may seem small, it forces shipping companies to either wait for better conditions or use alternate routes, delays that could extend into the end of the year. The restrictions impact more than just cargo shipping. Cruise lines, which rely on the Panama Canal as a key attraction, are also affected by low water levels and extended wait times. Transiting the canal has long been a highlight for cruises, offering passengers the unique opportunity to experience both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans in one journey. However, these delays have reduced daily transits from around 40 vessels to 31, and traffic is now limited to one direction at a time to avoid collisions in the narrow Culebra Cut, where low water levels make navigation riskier. The backlog has forced many cruise lines to cancel canal itineraries for this year and the next, as they can't afford to spend long periods anchored in wait. If drought conditions persist,